What's going on, guys? Christian here from CK Wraps. You might be wondering why I'm looking at you so high up in the sky. Well, that's because I have you on the camera crane and I'm going to show you how to Cosmetic PPF a roof. Now, this is going to be a wet apply and we're using Flexishield Gloss Pitch Black. Super glossy, the deepest black you can possibly get as far as PPF goes. Super black, swirl mark free. So any swirl marks that we get from the installation are going to easily be heated out because it is paint protection film and it has a mirror piano black-like finish. The rest of the car, as you can see, is being wrapped in Vivid Color Fusion, Stealth Gunmetal Gray. So this is going to add a really nice contrast with the roof being in gloss black and the rest of the car being in a satin/matte finish. It's going to look amazing, actually. So super stoked about it. We're going to start off with a few things. And before we get into that, I'm going to just mention my website, ckwraps.com. If you're looking for in-depth how to vinyl wrap videos, check out my website, ckwraps.com. The link's in the top corner and the description below. If you're looking for something that's on YouTube, I do have a members only section as well. It's only $4.99. Doesn't give you access to the forum like my website has, but it will give you access to like 200 plus videos that I have so far uploaded from my website. So a lot of videos there and they're all categorized for you as well. Let's get into this. So we're gonna start off with a few things. What we're going to need with this particular car, since it's Audi/Volkswagen, is that a lot of times on this brand of vehicle, there's no drip sill trim right here. So there's just an indentation. So we are going to need a cutting tape for this. I'm going to be using a more specific one called Design Line. This is going to cut the PPF a little bit better than a finish line. You can also use Precision Line, which is a steel cable. So I actually didn't pull that over yet. Let me grab that. It's right here. And what we're going to be looking at with this is the filament inside should be somewhat pink looking. Not sure how well you can see that. But on top of that, an easy way to tell that you have the right one is that it's going to break very easily. So I can just snap it with 2 fingers. Oops, that didn't work very well. Snap it with 2 fingers and the filament breaks very easily. If you have the finish line, that's going to be much more difficult to break since it's a Kevlar thread or filament inside of it. I'm just gonna throw this in the garbage. Now, I've wiped the roof down, but it's gonna need some additional prep. Again, this is going to be a wet apply. This material from Flexishield can be installed dry as well. I highly do not recommend it. The reason being is that you're going to get a lot of adhesive lines. It does have an air release pattern, which aids really well in squeegeeing out the fluid and the air all at the same time. But on large flat surfaces like the roof or the hood or doors and stuff like that, you're definitely going to want to do a wet installation. On a mirror and a door handle and an antenna and whatever, yeah, you can get away with doing dry installation because there's a lot less surface area there and it's much easier to squeegee out the air. Also, you're more likely to get those done in sort of one pass as opposed to lifting the material up, repositioning and so forth over a large flat area. So highly, highly, highly recommended doing wet application. What am I using for wet application? I'm gonna grab my 2 bottles here. In this bottle right here, I have baby shampoo mixed with water. More detailed videos in the members section or on my website. Same thing over here, I have tack solution. It's just alcohol and water, not just any water. You need a particular kind of water. You don't want to just use tap water because tap water has a lot of contamination in it and you don't want that to affect the adhesive or just get debris under your wrap because tap water has debris in it. So you definitely don't want to use that. Now, on top of that, that's pretty much it. We're going to use a PPF squeegee. I'm using for this squeegee from Tri-Edge. It's a kind of a hybrid squeegee. I can use this side, dry application with the buffer side. I can use this side over here, wet application. Works really well for me because I am doing pretty much all cosmetic paint protection film these days. So I haven't touched a regular vinyl wrap. It'll be, I think, 2 years this November. So it's been a long time. Let's measure the roof up. I already have the tape measure here. We're gonna measure front to back because the width is most likely going to be less than 60 inches unless you have like a G-Wagon. That's like the only roof I can even think of that's wider than 60 inches. But we're gonna measure front to back. So I'm measuring about 62.5 inches or so. I've already pre-cut the material at 66, so that should give us 1.5 inches to 2 inches on each end, and that will be enough. I wish I was able to hold this piece down. Sometimes you can hold this piece down. I would put a piece of tape down or whatever. This one doesn't have any access to do that, so whatever, it's gonna kind of be in the way. No big deal. We'll work around it. Again, everything's basically been cleaned out. This is a bit of an older car, so you might see some imperfections. It is thoroughly cleaned, but I am going to just give it a once over before we get into it. And we're gonna put our knifeless tape down. So let me get the camera closer and show you how the knifeless tape applies, and then the last bit of prep before we get into actually wrapping the roof. Here we are. You can see some damage here. There's some rust at the front. This is a 2018, 2019, so daily driven, but in pretty good shape other than the front end was in an accident. Before the owner got it, actually he didn't know. But the front bumper has been repainted as well as the front driver's side fender. But what we're gonna do is we wanna lay the knifeless tape on this side of the indentation. Okay, so I'm not gonna lay it on this side, on the roof side. I'm gonna lay it on the quarter panel side, because I want to have a decent amount of overlap. And then when I put knifeless tape down again, it's going to be on the roof side. So it's going to overlap onto the roof side afterwards when I do the quarter panels. Super easy to apply it. Don't worry about trying to get it right in like the ditch. Just get it on this side. Keep the tape tight. And that's going to make it go down nice and even and straight, and try to do long passes while keeping the knifeless tape low. Excellent. What you'll also notice is that I have applied masking tape to the front and the rear window. Maybe you can't see the rear, but the front one. This is just going to allow the material to lift off more freely afterwards, so I can tuck into the seal more easily. Now this seal, I think the front window has probably been replaced because this seal is like mangled. It's butchered. There's a chunk out of it over on that side. So it's all wobbly and wonky all the way through. Not sure what happened. I can go through, as you can see, like maybe right there, you might be able to see that. I've tried to go through and sort of lift the seal up, and it does work a little bit. There we go. And that does help kind of get it up to its more normal position. But again, I'm not sure what happened. I think it had been replaced at some point, and whoever did the installation just didn't do that nice of a job. Let's come in this way. And by doing this, I'm going to be lifting dirt out of the seal. I have cleaned it, but I'm still going to have to just give it a once over, probably with some compressed air. Let me maybe zoom in a bit more for this side over here, because you'll see a better positioning of, I need a remote for this thing, how I apply the knifeless tape to the opposite side of what I was talking about, the roof. Hopefully that's good. Maybe I can do a digital zoom if I need to. You may not be able to see all of it, but as soon as I get to here, you should be able to see more. I'm about to run out, so hopefully this is enough. I have enough. I have another couple of rolls, but again, I'm just pushing against the quarter panel side. And that's going to give us a nice overlap afterwards. Now, what we will have to do is we're going to, obviously this is wet apply, so we won't be able to, just debris there. We won't be able to cut with the knifeless tape right away. We will need to let that dry. So this is going to be like a two-part video, not that you guys will know, but I'm going to move on to something else, come back to it, and you'll see better on how all that works afterwards. But you guys won't even know. Okay, cool. So I did have enough on that roll. It's perfect. Let's get my material prepped and the roof prepped. So first, I'm just going to blow off the roof if there's any debris kicking around, which there just was. I just saw some, because I did wipe it a little while ago. So I will try to remember to turn the volume down for this. If I don't, plug your ears or turn your volume down. It should be good, but we'll see. Okay, that will be good. The more thorough you are with your prep, the better. The better the result. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the roof, and then I'm going to wet the material, and I'm going to bring the material over to the roof, and we're going to get that installed. All right, guys, the material is wet on the adhesive side. We're going to mist off the surface here. Now we're going to get a little little tiny bit of fluid in the car, but not a big deal. It's just baby shampoo and a little bit of water. I'm gonna squeegee away from the area though. So I just saw debris here. Not sure where that even came from. Let's just wipe that off. Okay, I'm gonna squeegee that off actually. Must have just like fallen from the ceiling or something like that, because that was definitely not there a minute ago. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to wet both sides. That's going to make each side nice and slippery, so you can move the material around and not worry about getting bubbles trapped. Now let's bring the material over to the roof. Let's throw that up there. There we go. I still have the liner on it, as you can see here. You can take the liner off before that. I just want to show you that you can transport it with the liner on. And let's just sort of get it into position here. Again, don't worry so much about having a little bit of baby shampoo inside the car. Not a big deal. I mean, window tinters, when they tint windows, there's fluid everywhere. So you may not have known that, but for anyone who doesn't know much about the wrap world, yes, when you're tinting windows, there's gonna be fluid all over the place. So not all over the place, it's sort of controlled, and we're trying to control it still, right? So, okay, so we're gonna take that and get that stuck down there. I didn't wet the PPF like super soaked, just kind of wet enough, because I do want it to sort of stick a little bit faster. I don't want it to take too long. The more wet it is, the longer it's going to take, okay? Just draw that right off the back. Cool. You can see that the material sits really nicely. I didn't even try to take that off really nicely. So it sits down pretty nicely. So what we're gonna do now is my bandage just came off. Okay, it's okay. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pull that tight, and we're gonna get it anchored. So I'm gonna get it anchored to the quarter panel here on this side, and I'm gonna pull out to each corner basically. Let's get it anchored to the quarter panel out here. I haven't even wet the surface of the material yet. I have to. So you'll notice that it is dry right now. This is honestly the most efficient and effective way to do the installation. Okay, and then out to this side right here. And we want to be sort of tight, because that sunroof wind guard, or whatever you want to call that, I think it's just like a wind guard, is sticking up, and so we want the material to be tight coming around that. Otherwise, it will give us an issue. So I'm just checking it out there, make sure that's tight enough. Cool, so what we're gonna do now is we're going to slip the surface, and we're going to be using the hard edge of our squeegee, okay? There we go, that's good enough. And like I said, I'm going to work the fluid away from the sunroof. This way, water doesn't pour into the car. It's not that much, but still. Okay, nice, firm passes, overlapping. You'll notice that I'm doing a petting motion or a sweeping motion. It's the best way. You can push, but you run the risk of creasing, and we don't want that. As I get closer to the edge, we're just gonna kind of ease up for a second. And it's right there. I'm just gonna lift a bit, start sticking to the edges. There we go. We want it to go down super smooth, super nicely. Let me push this visor down here, this wind guard here, and let's sort of redo this. I'm not happy with the fingers that were there. There we go. Happier with that now. I'm gonna lift up here and just pull down a bit to flatten this out. And there's our edge to our sunroof. Look how easy this is, and look how nice the finish is. So my squeegee is putting swirl marks in it because I'm using a hard edge of my squeegee, right? You probably can't even see because they're like super minimal, but it is. So same thing here. Let's actually just hold that down. It's fine, I don't need to hold that down. Again, working away from the sunroof. You see how I'm squeegeeing this way this time towards myself? I can still go back like this if I want to, just totally up to you. Whatever is working is the way you're gonna do it. Okay, so this is pretty much done, sort of. We're gonna do a few more things, but then we're gonna have to let it dry. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna lift from the edges, and I'm gonna get my material pushed right up to my knifeless tape. So this way when it dries, I don't get any adhesive lines, and if I do, it's right in the drip sill area, because you'll never see it there. Okay, again, I'm just lifting off of the quarter panel, and that's allowing me to get in there really nicely. The next step will be to trim out some of this, but for now, I'm not too worried about it. We're gonna get the sides done first. So you'll probably see a little bit better on this side. There we go. See how it's tucking in here really nicely? See how it won't go in there right now? Like, it just keeps popping out. So we wanna lift to alleviate tension, super important. And then it will sit in there really nicely. Splash myself. So all the way down. Let's get it off the back. There we go. Okay, so a beginner tip here is to have a cloth with you so you can dry this off. I do have one actually right here. So you can see if you've left fluid behind, because you don't want to leave fluid behind. Chances are it could be a combination of air and fluid, and you can't see through the material. So if it's just fluid in there, it'll probably just dry out over a night or two. While if there's air in there, it'll basically never go away. But because this is opaque, you can't see through the material. And that is an issue. So you don't know if it's air or fluid, like slip solution. There's a really small bubble right here. Let's get a little bit of fluid on here. There we go. And that will push right out. And I don't see anything else. That was just one tiny spot right there. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna trim away from this area here. Don't cut the windscreen, wind deflector, whatever you wanna call it, and give yourself enough material to be able to roll around the inside. So I'm not gonna cut too much away. Let's go here. I'm gonna leave myself about an inch. This way I can cover the inside edge all the way, or most of the way at least. So when the sunroof is open, we're not gonna see the white. Not that most people leave their sunroof open when they're not in their car, but so you're not really gonna see it as the driver, but who knows? Okay, and then we're gonna go here. I'm just running my blade on the inside of that wind deflector. Use my fingers as a guide along the edge there. Keep the material tight. This is PPF, so you do have to keep it tight when you cut. And then let's get that out of there. Nice, okay. Let's take care of this section right here. That's what I was talking about with the wind deflector sticking up. It's kind of a pain. If you see bubbles, you'll be able to get them out without waiting too long. So it gives you more time because this has an air release pattern in it. It gives you a bit more time to get the air, the bubbles out and so forth. While if this was something that had like no air pattern in it or no air egress pattern, it would be a little bit more tricky to get the air out because it's gonna seal up a lot faster. So the air channels are actually aiding in helping us get a bunch of this air out. Now I'm trying to come around, so we saw me do there is I kind of lifted off of that little trim piece there and come around it. Now I'm gonna trim back some more because I know that I don't need all this now. So I'm gonna hold that little wind deflector down and start trimming up this off. And leave myself about an inch because I have way too much right now. Okay, hold it down again. If you're worried about, I mean, it's not like you're gonna damage anything, but if you're worried about cutting or scratching the wind deflector, just put some masking tape on it. Can I reach that from the other side? I might have to reach a bit more from this side here. Let's reach a bit further, it'll make the other side easier. Watch my finger, just felt my knife touch it. Didn't do anything, but just touched it barely. Okay, so again, we're just gonna make sure we're good coming around there. This is all super nice. Let's just dry it off. This is not a job that someone's gonna come in and wait for, really. Realistically, I mean, I removed the antenna, as you can see. It's gonna be way easier to wrap it, first of all. Second of all, it's gonna come out like way cleaner, and this makes this part of the job way easier. But that probably took me like 15, 20 minutes. And then this is gonna take approximately like, I mean, it depends on the air access to the edges. It can take anywhere from like an hour to 2 or so. What you do is you just move on to something else and make use of your time. And then you don't have to worry about waiting, you know, because you're not waiting, you're just doing something else with your time. Go watch a movie, whatever you want to do. That's useful to you. Cool. Okay, so we trimmed that away. And then now the material is not going to be affected as much by that edge there. I got a little bit of fluid right there. Perfect. And comb over it, okay? So before you leave it, you definitely want to comb over it again. Make sure that you're good and happy with the result and no bubbles. Let's go wipe off this side a bit. I can cut out the antenna section right now if I want to, but again, what's the rush? There's literally no rush to do this. Just take your time. It'll come out looking better if you take your time. Okay, so I do see a couple of bubbles right here. It's the edges you gotta worry about, or that are more likely to leave fluid behind. There we go, this one's gone. As long as it's not too dry, you can lift it and reposition it. Okay, I'm gonna trim a bunch of this away because it's just gonna breathe better. I have masking tape on the window, as you remember. And I'm gonna lift here because I don't wanna cut through my knifeless tape. Come on. Oh, that wasn't a good cut. Yeah, you can see it's a little tricky to cut PPF, right? I have a super sharp blade, but it's that elasticity to it that sort of resists you. Okay. Cool. So one thing that happened is my knifeless tape moved, of course it did. So we're gonna roll that back, try and get it into position. The other side's fine, there we go. And then just get that squeegee back over top of it. It's gonna happen, okay? This tape is not really meant for wet apply. If you're gonna use the wet apply one, then use precision line, it works better. It's wider, it's 1/4 inch. This is only 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so I'm just combing through, making sure that everything is super nice. And if our knifeless tape did move, for some of it, you can always get in there and freehand fix it afterwards. It's simple enough to score the PPF where you're not going to damage the paints. Okay, so just do some practice runs first. That's important. This side seems to be fine. We're gonna trim some of this material back, again, to allow access to the material, for the material to breathe better, the edges to breathe better. And I'm just not gonna have so much to lift up afterwards. Nice Jiminy Cricket in the background there. I think he's stuck between the back door and the door frame and the outside world over there. He's been making noise all day. Now he's making a lot of noise. All right, anyways. Cool. Okay, so now that I've done that, we're just gonna get in here one more time and make sure that that's good, because it did sort of lift it out of the recess. Now, if you really want to be super thorough, what you can do is you can get in with some tack solution and tack your edges. It's not a bad idea to get under here and flush out the baby shampoo and so forth. I'm not too concerned about it because I'm getting used to the material and I know sort of how it responds. So it does stick a little bit better if you do flush out the tack solution, the slip solution with tack solution, but do you really need to? If you know you have tension in an area, I would highly recommend it, but since all these edges have no tension, I'm really not worried about it at all. This edge, and so also again, one thing I forgot, is the reason why I'm doing the roof first and the quarter panel second is because the cutoff edge is going to face inwards. I could have done the roof second, but whatever. It's just going to, super minor detail, look somewhat a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. That's about it. Like, there's not any other reason besides that. So again, do the same thing on this side. Trim that back. Leave ourselves with 1 inch or so. You can put masking tape on this side if you're concerned about cutting the paint. I'm just lifting the material up towards the knife. And take your time. Cutting is probably one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, when it comes to wrapping. I think that's what intimidates a lot of people. I mean, after all the people that I've trained, cutting is definitely up there in terms of what people need to know and don't do great at. Okay, let's get back in there again. So this side, the knifeless tape seems to be in a pretty good spot. I sort of moved at the back here, but I'm not super concerned about it. Okay, that looks good. All this looks good. Cool. So that's all just basically got to dry out. Okay, so you can see how it's still wet there, all the bubbles and stuff, all the fluid. I can let it sit upwards like that, but it'll probably just fall down like it is right now. I'm going to trim out the back window section as well, leave myself with about 1 inch. And then we're going to come back to this, or I'm going to come back to this. You're going to be here still, hopefully. And because it's not going to be any time for you. And you're going to see how I do the rest. So let's just finish this piece off. And the rest will be super simple. Good, so less material there. That's gonna allow the material to breathe better, and we're good to go. So we're gonna come back to this in just a moment. All right, guys, after some time, I'm back. You're still here, hopefully, and we're gonna finish up the rest of this roof wrap. So we're gonna do all the cutting, trimming, rolling around the sunroof area, so forth, trim off any excess, and yada, yada, yada. All right, so let's first start off with some heat. I'm gonna be using a new heat gun, actually. I really like this heat gun, it's really good. This is the Blaze 550 from Vivid. Honestly, I'm super set in my ways when it comes to certain tools. Heat gun is the most important tool that I like to remain consistent with. I've been using one locally to Canada. It's a Canadian brand one, Mastercraft, you might have heard of it. Comes with a great warranty and so forth. Been using that for years. They're like $100 now, which is crazy. So I started out wrapping, they were like 30 bucks, exactly the same heat gun. Anyways, this is the Blaze 550 heat gun, super strong. So few key ingredients when it comes to a heat gun: strength of the fan, the temperature, and the adjustments, and also having a trigger that's comfortable. This trigger is on the back, my other one's on the front. Not a big deal, you get used to that pretty quickly. But the main thing is how quickly it heats up and the velocity that it shoots air out at. So I like something that's stronger, and I always set my heat gun to the hottest temperature, but this has a lot of adjustments. So it has 3 different settings right here, and top one being the hottest, and also a dial on the back, which you can turn and super easy to adjust to a lower temperature if you choose so. So again, I keep mine on the hottest setting because that's what I'm used to using. This heat gun is actually probably hotter than my other one. I don't even know how, but the other one's rated at 1,000 degrees. This is rated at just over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, around 500 Celsius or something like that. So they're both rated about the same, but this one's definitely hotter. So I prefer the higher temperatures. It does help a lot. Either way, let's get into this. So in case you noticed that I was using a different heat gun, I wanted to point that out. Let's get in there and warm the material. And let's get into the corners here actually. And we don't want to heat too much because we could tear the material. So we just want to keep it warm and pliable. Once we're done, we're going to get in there with a nice post heat and finish that up. This area over here is going to be a little tricky. I'll have to like put the heat gun down and so forth. So what I'll do is I'm going to push this down out of the way. Cool. We're going to warm that corner up right there. I'm going to take my heat gun, hold it there, and then work the material, sorry if I'm in your way there, into this corner right here. There we go. And then might as well go a little bit further. I don't have a glove on this hand, but that's okay. I can still manage. Your finger just sticks to gloss materials a little bit more than it would with like a matte finish. So it can be a little trickier to squeegee with your bare hands. And then this side is more or less good. Let's get that out of the way so it doesn't lift back up. I'll trim that afterwards. Perfect. Let's get on to the other side. So I'll swing around to the other side. Here we go. And you'll be able to see a little bit closer here, hopefully. Just a different angle. So the main thing that we're looking for when our material dries is no bubbles in it. And I don't have any, which is good. That means you did a nice thorough job. Okay, same thing over here. Let's push that one down, warm that up. And hold this down and get in there with our hand and glove. Beautiful. Now again, I do have excess material to trim off. And so we're gonna get in there and start trimming some of that off. I'm gonna lift this up slowly. There we go. I'm going to open the door so I can stand in the door jamb area. It's gonna help make things a little bit easier and accessible. Don't mind the streaking and stuff like that. And again, this car's a little bit older, so you might notice some imperfections and stuff like that on the actual roof. There's actually almost none for like a 2018, 2019, which is pretty good. And keep the material tight as you cut. It's gonna help give you a cleaner cut. The tricky part here is holding this thing down and cutting at the same time. Should be doing this from the other side. This is a bit kind of backhanded for me, but I get used to doing stuff like this sometimes. Okay, I'm gonna reach further here. Try and stay out of your way. I'm just running my blade on the underside edge. It's stuck there. Let's go back this way. There we go. As soon as I get this done, flip that up again. There we go. As I get this done, it'll be easier to trim the rest out. Basically on both corners there. Reaching pretty far here. Do whatever's comfortable. If you find it's easier to go to the other side, then go to the other side. I'm a little bit taller, so I could reach that. Wasn't too big of a deal. Let's get in here now and finish up the rest. You won't be able to see this part, but same as the other side. You can hear that squeaking of the PPF. Try and stay out of your way for this. Just be for a moment that I'm kind of in your way. Trying to hold this little wind deflector down and cut. There we go. Okay, now I can probably stand down here. Cool, blade right underneath. Now, again, this isn't a huge deal to wrap this far in, but most people are not outside of their car with the sunroof open, but some people are, so, you know, do a nice job. Can matter. You might as well go to the very edge because it's going to prevent you from cutting on the surface of the paint. Like, what's your other option? To cut there. So I'm just running my blade on the edge and I'm not causing any damage, and the risk of causing any damage is super, super minimal. Cool. So we're going to go over that with heat, and then that part's done, and then we're going to get into the knifeless tape cuts and the window tucking. So let's get in here, hold that down. Actually, I'll do the sides here first and then I'll hold that down afterwards. And that cleans it up a little bit in case you have a bit of a frayed edge or anything like that from cutting. But it was pretty good. Okay, so I'm gonna heat that up and then hold that down, turn that off so you don't burn anything in the car. Get in there, okay, heat up a bit more. Nice and close. Remember, this heat gun heats up quick and gets super hot. Okay, same thing over here. I'm not worried about it lifting, but you might as well get in there and post-heat it. It's always a good idea. Same thing here. Cool. All right. Could go over it more if you feel like you need to. Better to be thorough than sorry. All right, next up, let's do the knifeless tape cuts. So, might as well start right here. Kind of have most of it on camera there. Let's maybe just adjust downwards slightly. There we go. You can see my knifeless tape here. Let's get that started first. Okay, bring it right up to the PPF and run it all the way through. Now I've already gone over this. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. You should go over this and make sure there's no air in here. It's really important. It'll cut much cleaner and a lot better. Cool, let's remove that. And then we're gonna have that elevated edge from removing the knifeless tape from underneath it. So we're gonna take that edge and push it down. And remember, that edge is, the cutoff edge is on this side of the quarter panel. So like just on that edge that kind of flips up there a little bit. Let's do the other side now. The tighter you make the film over top of the knifeless tape, usually the nicer the cut. Oops, slipped there. So you do want to make sure that the film is nice and tight, there's no air in it, and that'll give you a much cleaner and nicer cut. Okay, so you'll probably see a little bit better from that side there that I'm coming up on the quarter panel side on this side, slightly with the black. Cool. Now on the front edge here, we have the rubber seal. So all I'm gonna do here is lift off my masking tape. And you can see the film still sticks to the masking tape. So we want to pre-lift that. So we're not just forcing the material down and in. And we want to leave a good amount of material, but not too much, to be able to tuck in. So what I do is I'm going to take my material and push it right up to the edge of the rubber seal, just like this. Once I feel the squeegee hit the rubber seal, I stop pushing, okay? I don't want my material sticking to the actual rubber seal. I only want it at the edge of the rubber seal. Then when I do that, I'm going to take this, flatten this back out. And so now I know that if I cut on this side over here, I'm going to have enough to tuck into this rubber seal. Probably not too much, because I did check the rubber seal to make sure, you know, there was some play and there was like a decent gap in it where I could tuck stuff behind it. Here we have some stone chips on the front there. There we go. Okay, so same thing here. Trying to stay out of your way and do this. Let's just go over it slightly with my thumb first, just to round off that edge, and then push right up to the rubber seal edge. That one went down far. Oh, that's the rubber seal is down further here. That's right, it's a little bit wonky, because I think the window had been changed at some point. All right, cool. Push that back down. Now, I know that we've made it at least up to the rubber seal, so we should have full coverage no matter what. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut on the glass side over here. Don't poke in too far, you'll end up cutting the rubber seal that's in there. I see my blade jump a little bit. Could be sharper actually. Let's snap one off. There we go. Still going to jump a little bit, but yeah, see. It's just because, See how it jumps like that? The PPF is loose, more loose on this side because it's just stuck to masking tape. So it doesn't, PPF does not like to be cut when it's loose like that. It's okay. This jagged edge is just gonna get tucked in and away. No one's ever gonna see it. And it's not often that you're gonna, look how bad that is. It's not often that you're gonna have cuts like this on anywhere on the car. It's just here in particular, we're gonna have one like that. There's ways around it. What I could have done is I could have cut like on the masking tape here, and that would give me a much smoother line, but I might have then too much material to tuck in there. So that can be a problem too. You don't wanna have too much material to tuck in because then you won't be able to get rid of all of it, and you're just kind of forcing all this extra material inside this area that can't house it. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get in there now with a tucking tool or a lifting tool, whatever you prefer. Right now I'm using a tri-edge, it's like tinting squeegee, it's called Tint Whiz. These are great, but you have to be careful with them because they can cause damage to things. And the Tint Whiz with my squeegee is a bit of a snug fit. So I might have to get in there with my wrap stick and do it this way. Yeah. And if that's too thick, we're gonna have to resort to the paper backing technique. Just take your time with this. It's not a rush, right? There's that busted rubber seal there. I'm trying to be really careful with it to not make it worse. Okay. I'm just gonna go back through here, make sure all is going well. It's going well. You'll probably see a little bit better as I get a little bit closer to you guys. You shouldn't have to force your tucking tool very hard. If you have to force it hard, you could be causing damage, okay? So just keep that in mind. Okay, as I go along here, it's getting to be a little bit nicer, a little bit easier. And I'm just doing it from this side right now so you guys can see better. I have to switch though, I can't reach any further. So what's happening here is you can see the tucking tool is lifting, pulling the squeegee out of the way. It's allowing the material to come off of it really nicely, and then I'm able to tuck in sort of just behind it. And this will give you the best overall and cleanest end result because it's gonna look like it was painted. Now again, what you don't wanna do is have too much material stuck to your rubber seal because that causes an issue with the rubber seal sticking to it and then you cause damage. So that's why I just push the material right up to the edge of the rubber seal, and it allows the material to lift off very easily without having to force anything for the most part. Because it's when you force that you're gonna cause damage to that rubber seal. Go back this way. There we go. Get right in there. Okay, and then we're gonna go through our rubber seal, make sure it's all uniform and nice. So down here, it kind of got pushed up a bit, and here I didn't finish right there. Let's go back this way a bit. There we go, and you can see the rubber seal sort of coming back up to place. That's what I had to do because this whole seal was pushed down when I first approached it, before I cleaned everything. It was pushed like right down in there, but now it's good. And then the last section right here, didn't get it. It should be good there. Nice, okay. So bang on, full coverage. Let's remove the tape so you can see a little bit better. And you can see that chunk out of the other side there from whatever happened before. All right, so, I mean, back window is more or less the same thing, except it doesn't have a rubber seal. So we're just gonna take it, cut, and tuck the rest of the material down in there because there is no rubber seal, so it's gonna be a little bit easier. We're gonna actually just leave a little bit extra. You know what, I'll just show you, bring the camera back there. Makes the most sense. And get you right in there. Okay, and I'll also do the shark fin antenna cutout. So hopefully you're somewhere there. That's pretty good. Okay, so I'm just gonna go over this, smooth that out. Cool, and then I'm gonna estimate how much material I can actually get in there. So what you can do is you can take a look behind it. You can be like, okay, that goes down 1/4 inch or so from the glass. By pushing the material down like this, I'm sort of already at the glass. So then I wanna leave myself with around at least 1/4 inch, but I wanna have a little bit extra to then tuck under the actual window so we don't see white. So here's from here to here, that's about 1/4 inch. We'll go a little bit more than that. So again, this is just eyeballing. You don't wanna leave too much. Too much is gonna be a huge pain to get it tucked in there nicely. And I recommend cutting on the glass like this because, or on the tape, because, I'm gonna cut it off right there actually. It's actually more solid and you're able to cut a straighter line. If you don't cut a nice straight line, what will happen is when you go to tuck your material in and it's choppy, sometimes you can see it. So make sure your line is straight. Mostly straight, doesn't have to be flawless, just mostly straight. You could put knifeless tape down here if you prefer. That's just my blade hitting the tape. Cool. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna lift off of the tape again. Let's get that elevated. Because we don't want to try and force the material down while it's stuck to the other side, which is the tape side. We want to make sure the material goes in as freely as possible. Okay, so let's do that. Let's just round that off really nicely. If I can get my buffer side of the squeegee in there, I will do that first because that's better at getting the air out. Okay, and then we're gonna get in there with our hard edge. Oh yeah, this is gonna give me real nice coverage. We're in there deep. And we're right underneath that glass. It's beautiful. Just enough. I can say that I've done this before, so, but you get good at eyeballing it. You know, it just comes with some experience. So I gotta lift off the tape here again. Didn't do that yet. Could feel the resistance. Cool. I don't get in there as far as I can go with the buffer part. And then we're gonna get in there with the rest of the way. So totally different than the front, right? Like this one here, we don't have that rubber seal to tuck into, but we do wanna make sure we get really good coverage on that gloss black. Like you can't see any white in there, okay? So that's marvelous, that's amazing. Exactly what we want. I'm just gonna make sure we've gotten all the air out of there. Feels good, feels nice. Oops, some of my squeegee came off there. Just some of the blue from pressing firmly. Cool, let's take the tape off so you can see a little bit better. And then we'll cut out the shark fin antenna. Oh, okay. So not bad for a roof that's, whatever, 7 years old. Looks it's in pretty good condition, or even it just looks a lot better after the wrap. So I'm just taking my blade, as you can see here, running it on the inner edge, not trying to gouge anything out. Keep the PPF tight, always super important. Keep in mind that you might have wires in there if you've removed the antenna. Mine are pushed down a little bit lower. This doesn't have to be perfect, it's just the antenna covers an area much wider than that. All right, guys, and that's the roof wrap. So let's take you for a little tour of it right now. Just kind of go across. There we go. Looks really nice. Got some streaks on it, but that's not a huge deal. What I can do is I can just even take a bit of soapy water. There we go. And let's just wipe some of that off. It's actually pretty good on the back because I wiped it yesterday, but there were some on the front here. 0 swirl marks. They've already like heated out on their own. So again, that's PPF. I used the hard edge of my squeegee to do this. And there are literally no swirl marks in this at all. And it's always gonna look really, really, really good. So just looking in there, yeah, we're good. Thought I saw something. And that, my friends, is how you do a roof wrap in Gloss Black PPF. Zoom this back if it's not zoomed back. Oh, that's in. That's it, pretty much. Okay, so guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, this was Flexishield Cosmetic PPF Pitch Black. This is a roof wrap done wet apply. Be patient, take your time with it, super important. It'll come out looking good, okay? There's no rush to finish the edges and the corners and all the cutting and all the trimming. Don't rush it. When you rush it, you're gonna have issues, you're gonna make mistakes, and that's when it's gonna be a problem. When you wrap the roof, move on to something else. If it's only in for a roof wrap, go do something else. Whatever, go wrap another car in its roof, or go do something else, watch TV, watch a movie, I don't know, for an hour or two. Make sure it's dry. When it's fully dry, you're gonna spend way less time actually babysitting at the very end. So that's crucial, because you wanna make the most amount, with the amount of time that you're actually spending on the job. Not time total, because time total you can use, like, I could say this took me 5 hours because I let it dry for 3 hours, but it didn't really. Time total is the length of this video, and that's it. That's the amount of time I actually spent on the actual wrap, because I had other things to do, like wrap the door handles, do the mirror, do the shark fin antenna. Oh, the shark fin antenna, let's show you that. So that's done as well. But if you want a video on this one, that's on my members only section of YouTube or on my website, ckwraps.com. But there is a video on this one. So that's gonna look beautiful once that goes back on there. It's gonna look super nice. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I look forward to doing more videos for you. I have a ton of wraps coming up and a ton of projects. So look forward to seeing you then. Thanks for watching as always. Take care.